All right, guys. Hi, thanks for listening. My name is Joseph. The reason I made this channel is because I am a big Utah Utes fan. I reside here in the Utah Valley, and I am always looking for new content and resources about the Utah Utes football team. And this channel was made just because I didn't feel like there was a lot of resources, but especially when it came to just like long form talking about what you could watch on the weekend when it comes to Utes. So I hope a lot of you guys find this video valuable. I'm going to be diving into a bunch of the different matchups this weekend, where Utah's looking good, where BYU's looking good, and overall we're just going to kind of break down the entire Utah-BYU Holy War. I'm super excited to talk about it, and let's go ahead and get started. When it comes to the strongest groups for each team, Utah is going to have a really strong tight end room, really strong group of DBs, and an extremely strong linebacker group. Now, when it comes to tight ends, Utah is going to have two really good tight ends that BYU will have to stop. If they want to stop Utah, this is going to be a key to getting it done. So, with Utah's ability to have two really high-end tight ends, they should be able to spread their field, let their receivers get open deep, and let their running backs run pretty effectively by the linebackers having to worry and the safeties having to worry about these tight ends. When it comes to DBs, Utah doesn't have any specific DB I would point out to you that I would say is just a star. Vontae Davis is pretty good, but I wouldn't call him a star. But the overall group is a really good group, and I don't think BYU is just going to be able to pick on them at any point. They're going to have to respect the DBs Utah has and do their best to get people open. Then when it comes to Utah's linebacker group, this is probably one of the best linebacking groups in the country. Obviously, headlined by Devin Lloyd, one of the best linebackers in the country in himself. But also, there's Nephi Sewell. And I guess if you want to count the edges, but I would count that more as D-line. But when it comes to pure linebackers, Utah can compete with any team in the country. And then when it comes to weak spots on Utah's team, I would say Utah's O-line, though it does have a few stars, overall Utah's O-line leaves a lot to be desired. If they want to go out here and compete against a lot of these teams, obviously BYU, they want to win the game this weekend. But just in general, as the season goes on, if they want to compete against some of the higher-end teams, they're going to need to make sure this O-line looks a lot better than it did last week and just improves in general. Also, Utah's wide receivers. Now, I'm not saying that Utah doesn't have any playmakers at wide receiver. Obviously, number 18 is a beast, and the guy can make a lot of plays in the return game, a lot of plays on end arounds. But when it comes to actual wide receivers, guys going out there running routes, trying to make plays, I don't think Utah has anyone specifically that's a playmaker on the team. So they're going to have to rely on some other areas to make plays, like the tight ends, like we talked about. Now, when we're talking about Utah or BYU's strengths, we're going to be looking at their O-line. Now, just all around, basically, there's no weak spots. And there's a few big-time highlights on BYU's offensive line. If Utah wants to, getting an edge on defense, they're really going to have to find a way to get through that offensive line, get to the quarterback, stop run plays. I think the key is going to be that Utah has to hit that offensive line in the mouth with their D-line and let the linebackers come downhill and make plays. BYU is also going to have a really good linebacker group, just like Utah. With Utah's weak spot being an offensive line is one of the bigger weak spots, they really are going to have to find a way to work the tight ends into helping out block these linebackers, getting second level quickly to hit these linebackers. If they don't stop these linebackers, I would imagine when we're looking back on this game Saturday night, Sunday morning, if Utah were to lose, which I really don't think is going to happen, the linebackers would have a big say in how that went down. So Utah needs to make sure they hold these linebackers back for BYU and really shut them down. It needs to be a big focus in the game. And then when it comes to weak spots for BYU, I'm going to say none. Now, I'm not trying to stroke anyone's ego here, but when it actually comes to weak spots, I really don't think BYU has too many weak spots. That does not mean that BYU is a better team What I mean is that they're just well-rounded. I think Utah overall has a lot of better high-end players, big playmakers, and overall in almost every position group they have one or two guys that really stands out. But just when it comes to being a well-rounded team, BYU doesn't have any glaring weaknesses, where Utah does have a few spots where they could be a lot better. So now let's talk about the different big matchups that we're going to be looking at on Saturday night. So the first one is Dalton Kincaid. He's one of the tight ends for Utah. He's number 86. The guy is a monster, right? When it comes to high-end tight ends, there is actually no one better in the country as of last week than Dalton Kincaid. He was actually the PFF graded number one tight end of the country at a 92.5. The guy is really legit, and if BYU wants to slow down this Utah offense, they are going to have to focus on him. He's going to be a big point. But then when it comes to BYU, they're also going to have a big weapon. I would be shocked if this was not the guy covering Dalton Kincaid. Chaz Ayu. Now, this guy plays linebacker and he plays safety. Really good player. The guy is graded pretty high for the past few years, especially at linebacker, and pretty good grades at safety. I think Dalton Kincaid can definitely win the matchup here, but that's going to be a big point of emphasis. If Utah wants to keep the ball rolling, we're going to have to win these matchups, and I think Dalton Kincaid can definitely win when it comes to going against Chaz Ayu. Another big thing for Utah is going to be Charlie Brewer. Now, Charlie Brewer was the quarterback at Baylor last year. Had a pretty rough year, but the 2 years before that were, pretty spectacular. 2019, he graded out at an 80, which is a very good grade. 2018, he actually graded out at a 91, which is, when you're looking at a 91 overall grade, we're talking about elite NFL type of talent. This guy was really impressive in 2018, and 2019 was a very good year. Last year was bad, but last week against Weber State, we saw an 89.3 grade from Charlie Weber, right up there in that elite category. Let's hope we see that again this week and that Utah's out here just driving the ball. I really think Charlie Brewer is probably going to be one of the biggest reasons we flip or flop this year, or we do well or don't do well this year. But I really do think he's going to get it done. I just think Utah has to make sure that he's surrounded by people that can help him get it done. One of the big guys that's going to be trying to get in Charlie Brewer's face is going to be Uriah Leatawa. This guy is the edge for BYU. He's number 58. The guy is really good. Now, we're talking about really high grades every year. This last game graded 72.3, 2020 73.2, 2019 78.7. Well-rounded, pretty solid pass rush, solid run defense grade. The guy is going to be a problem if we don't address him and shut him down early. I think we'll do a good job of it. Kyle Whittingham's a genius when it comes to game planning this stuff, but we need to just make sure it actually happens. If this guy is getting in the backfield all day, I'm sure Charlie Brewer is going to be looking a lot more like last year than he did in 2019 or 2018. Another big player for Utah is going to be Braden Daniels. Now, he's an offensive guard. He plays left guard, or that's what he played against Weber State. Real physical guy. Likes to get downhill, likes to hit linebackers, likes to throw people around. Very solid pass rush grade as well. 83 pass rush grade, 70 run block grade. Those are both real solid. Someone we can feel really confident is going to be a big mantelpiece for the entire season, and should be a great offensive lineman. I mean, this guy is definitely the best offensive lineman on the team. With that, he's going to be having to get downhill, block guys like Chaz Ayu. I think he can do it. Last year, he graded out at a 79.4 overall. That's a really high grade, and we just got to see it again this season. So I'm excited for Braden Daniels to hit the field. BYU also has a really good offensive tackle that we need to worry about. Blake Freeland, he's going to be number 71 as well. So is Braden Daniels. They're both number 71. Blake Freeland, the guy's shutting people down. I mean, this is a very high-end prospect. In 2020, he's at 81.6. The thing, though, is he doesn't have a very good run block grade. It's a 59.8, which is pretty rough. His pass block grade is super high, which is 87.5. So that's what I noticed pretty commonly among BYU's offensive line. So I would not be surprised if we were, shutting down their run game. I wouldn't say easily, but get in their face, get in the backfield. I think it should be a good game for us to really shut down the run, force them to pass, make the young quarterback make mistakes. And then when it comes to another playmaker for Utah, it's going to be Mike Tafua. I'm guessing they're going to have Blake Freeland one-on-one with him. They could have Harris LaChance. I didn't go too much into Harris LaChance's PFF grades and highlight him as a star player, but there's two really good offensive tackles. One of them is going to be on Mike Tafua. But I think whoever Mike Tafua is going against, I think he's going to win. The guy is really good. He graded out at a 90.4 last week with a 90 pass rush grade. That is really elite. That means, you have no time to breathe as a quarterback. I think he's number 42. He's the edge player for Utah, and I think the guy's going to be an animal. This is going to be a breakout year. He's a 74.3 last year, 68.3 the year before. Keeps getting better every year. Last week he had that 90.4 grade and was causing havoc. I think he's going to be lighting people up this week. Tyler Algiere, he's the running back for BYU. Number 25. The guy is, really explosive. I'm actually a Jets fan as well, so I watched a lot of Zach Wilson highlights. I'm sure some people don't like to hear that, but I watched a lot of Zach Wilson highlights, and I saw this guy on a lot of the highlights. Number 25, Tyler Algiere. The guy makes a lot of plays. He is a really good player. He graded out at a 92.1 last year, according to PFF. Both the years before, though, really bad grades, a 58 and a 54. This last week, a 67. I'm really not sure what we would expect from him. I would expect him to still be good. I mean, 92, that's not a fluke for the whole season. He was the fourth best running back last year, according to them. So I would imagine we're going to need to keep an eye on him and try to shut him down. All right, now I'm going to talk about the two big-time players, the two leaders on each team. So the first one is going to be Utah's, Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd is the linebacker for Utah. The guy is an animal. Number 0. High grades on PFF, right? 82.2 last year. Last week, he graded out a 74.9. But really with him, it's more the eye test, right? You watch him play. He's a leader. He makes the big plays. He's a third down kind of guy. He's a guy you want on the field at all times. He's athletic, playmaker, just a beast. I'm guessing he will be playing a big role on Saturday, and he will also be a big factor of whether or not we win or lose. I think Utah, Devin Lloyd's going to be the main guy leading them to the victory, obviously with Charlie Brewer on offense as well. But I think Devin Lloyd's going to get out there and make a couple turnovers before the game's over, or at least contribute to some big plays. And then the really big playmaker for BYU, helping out their young quarterback, is going to be their wide receiver, Neil Pau'u. The guy was incredible last week. He was the number 10 graded receiver in all of college football. Graded out at 84.4 last week, a 78.1 the year before. Those are both incredible grades. This guy is going to be someone we definitely have to shut down. Like I said, Utah is a very solid DB core. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to try to zone this guy out or hit him with double teams or spotlight him. I mean, this guy is the playmaker on the offense. Like I said, there's Tyler Algiere, but he's not quite on the level this guy is, at least from what we saw last week. So I would imagine we're gonna be really spotlighting him. And the young quarterback, Jaren Hall, is going to make mistakes. He's going to try to force it to him. So if we can keep him locked up and covered, we're going to have a great day. And Neil Pau'u, he's number 2 on BYU. So keep an eye on him. All right, guys, and that's kind of the breakdown I wanted to go through. I think Utah should really this is my just final closing on how it's going to work out. So I think Utah should be able to win this game. Now, I think we all noticed last week we should be running through teams like Weber State. but that wasn't the case. With the talent we have, there's no reason that should have been competitive. You could see the talent when you watched them on the field. They just weren't clicking that well as a team. A lot of these guys are new being on the field together. There's a lot of transfers there. I think if we come out there with a little more camaraderie and a sense of togetherness, we're going to run BYU into the dirt, and it won't even be close. I think if we look sloppy like we did last week, we're going to come out there, we're going to make mistakes, the game's going to be close, and it could be a toss-up, but I would still lean towards us getting a decent win, maybe a touchdown, 10 points, that sort of thing. But overall, I see Utah really pulling this one off, guys. Hopefully we can come out there and embarrass them. That'd be awesome to see. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe if you guys have any questions. And I enjoyed making it. Go Utes!